morning, Sunday morning. Okay, actually, it's Monday morning, but I just love making fun of Nancy Pelosi. Hi, I'm the colorblind architect, and welcome back to the podcast. I took a week off, and I'm sure most people didn't notice because, again, currently, as of this video, I still only have 7 subscribers, so I don't really care. But at the same time, I am happy to be back. I had a really good time down in the national parks, just camping, enjoying life. And now it is the day before the election, and most people have already voted, which, go figure. That is such a weird thing. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, I was going to start by mentioning how when I was dropping off my son at his junior high, I was noticing, quite a few of the kids, they're coming in with, torn jeans or long hair and things like that. And it got me thinking about the nature of how often teenagers rebel. It's a pretty normal thing. It's also not that big of a deal for teenagers to rebel. The strangest thing about it is what I find in the way that they don't realize that they're even just playing into the stereotype of the rebellious teenager. They don't realize that they're not even really protesting anything. They're not really even rebelling against anything. So, one of the blog posts that I put on colorblindarchitect.com was an article that I wrote discussing a song by Linkin Park called Rebellion. In that song, they talk about how we have everything, there's nothing to protest against, so we're protesting in the vein, like it's almost like we're cosplaying. And I'm paraphrasing the lyrics because, obviously I don't have that in front of me right now, and driving, that's not the easiest way to do it. But the point is that's the general gist of the song, is they're basically saying that we're more like pretending to protest. And then that got me thinking about Antifa and the Black Lives Matter protesters, and basically anybody, a lot of these people, these leftist protesters who are protesting, they're protesting a boogeyman. They're protesting nothing. They pretty much have everything. Here in America, we've largely solved all the big problems. And it's not to say that there's not still problems, and it's not to say that there's not still a long way to go. However, what it is to say is we have clean water. We have flushing toilets. We have air conditioning. We have cars. We have schools. We have so much already built in to the system that even if you're the poorest of the poor here in the United States, it is likely that you have an apartment and a car and a TV and a computer and a smartphone. You might even have air conditioning. Okay? I'm talking about really, really poor people. Oh, but then you might say, well, what about homeless people? Okay, well, what about homeless people? That's a great question. Well, the problem with homelessness is it's much more complicated than people just not having money. In fact, most of the time, homelessness is a combination of factors resulting from mental health issues and drug addiction. And Do we need to have compassion for them and help them? Yes, absolutely. But it's not the result of an inability of them to be able to go out and get a job, necessarily. It is that they can't or won't on a part of their own personal choices or situation. It's not that there's not available jobs. So that's a whole nother issue. So we live in a country that is so wealthy, so well off. We have so much peace and prosperity. So where did all these riots and protests come from? That's the big question. I think so many of us wonder. We can't help but question, how did this happen? How is it possible that we have so many people angry and thinking that they need to tear down the system? It kind of defies logic. So here we are. You know, we're wandering through this, going into an election, and I see on the news one of the recent campaign stops that Joe Biden put up. Big sign behind his pulpit saying, "Battle for the soul of the nation." And I thought to myself, wow, that's actually quite prescient. Although, I think kind of ironically, coming from a man who is horribly corrupt with political dealings and supports the murder of babies through abortion. However, it's not to say that Donald Trump is an angel either. He's got a lot of things that are wrong with him too. So neither of the candidates are angels. Neither of them are good and holy and pure. So, is this really a battle for the soul for the nation? And I would say it's a really good question. I think to a certain extent it is a battle for the soul of the nation. However, I don't think it's resolved in this election. I don't think this election actually is an election that decides the fate of our souls. Rather, I believe that this election is a symptom of the real spiritual battle that's occurring. There is a real spiritual battle occurring here in the United States and all over the world. It is a spiritual battle that's been waging since the beginning of time. And this spiritual battle is the battle between those who believe in redemption and peace and love, and those that believe that power, real power, is wielded with the point of a gun. So basically, it's a battle between, do we respect other people's freedom? Do we love people enough to respect their freedom and actually give them the right to choose for themselves? Or Do we take from them their freedom? Force them to behave? Because in the end, we're all a bunch of dumb animals. And we need the wizards of smart. These brilliant, elite politicians and bureaucrats and other people, leaders of industry, to guide us and direct us in doing the right thing. That, I believe, is the real spiritual battle. Now, if you want to equate that to the current presidential election, you can. But you're going to have to look at the actual core message, the actual core, the root of what these candidates are saying. Not just the surface stuff. If you're looking at only the surface of what politicians say, you're a moron. And I proudly say that. I proudly call you a moron. And that's because what they say on the surface is rarely ever an accurate depiction of the truth. You have to look at what is the root, what is the driving force behind them. So even on something as simple as mask wearing, dealing with the pandemic, you look at the difference between the two candidates for president. You've got Joe Biden on the one hand saying that we must wear masks and we must lock down and we must force everybody to comply. And then you have Donald Trump saying the people are smart enough to choose for themselves. Let them choose to wear a mask or not. Well, that's one simple example. So, is that enough to convince you one way or the other? I mean, I could go on about a bunch of different issues. But ultimately, if we're talking about the battle for the soul of our nation, or the battle for the soul of our families, the battle for the soul of our individual character, are we really so stupid to think that that's going to be found by electing somebody who doesn't tweet horrible things? Do we really think that the soul of our country is going to be decided by surface treatment, by pharisaical obedience to Mosaic law? And yeah, I know I just made a Bible reference. And for those of you who don't know that aspect of the Bible, at the time of Jesus, the Pharisees were a people who very hypocritically would outwardly show how much they abide by the law of Moses. They would follow all the rules as carefully as they could. They would wear all the proper garments. They would say all the proper things. But inside, they were ravening wolves. Yes, they would wear sheep's clothing, but inside they were ravening wolves. They were hypocrites. So here's the question. If your view of the soul of the nation is to be decided by choosing the guy that looks the part, that sounds the part, oh, it's just Joe Biden he sounds more like a good person. Well, then you're lost. And I'm not saying that this single election is going to be a permanent loss. None of this is a final decision. None of this is a permanent thing. Okay? So we could end up electing Joe Biden, and I'm not going to be happy about that. However, is it the end? No, it's not the end. The battle wages on. The battle will continue to wage on, as it has since the dawn of time. If you really think that this one election is everything, then you are, again, a moron. Now, is this an important election? Sure, yes. Every election is important. Every single decision that we make every day has impacts. Not just the elections. We have to choose righteousness. We need to choose goodness. We need to choose love, compassion, friendliness, kindliness. We can't just think that this is going to happen because we choose a leader. The result of choosing a good leader happens as a symptom of our nation being good. And even that is a generalization. I want to be clear. That is a generalization. Okay? We do not necessarily have a giant need for a top-down government decision. We all choose individually in our own lives every day. That's what makes this a great nation. Not who's sitting in the White House. We've had some absolutely horrid presidents sit in that White House. Okay? I can promise you, we've had much worse in the White House than Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Do I think that they're going to destroy the country? No. Do I think that your individual choices every day and my individual choices every day collectively over time will destroy the nation? Yeah. If we are collectively choosing evil, if we are collectively choosing to be bad people as individuals, this is each and every individual choosing to be bad. If that's the case, then yeah, over time we will become evil as a nation. Or we can become good over time. We are neither a good nation or an evil nation. Just like every nation. Just like every people that has ever inhabited this planet. We are both good and evil. The battle for our souls is internal to each individual, and we need to stop thinking that we're going to solve it through outward appearances. Cleanse the inner vessel, man. Cleanse the inner vessel. You've got to do some work on yourself before you start doing work on the rest of the world. So here's the thing. The election results come in, and it's the candidate that you don't like, that you think is the embodiment of evil, then guess what? You've got some cleaning up to do. But not with the nation, with yourself. Clean up your own life. And with that, I leave you for another day. I'm the Colorblind Architect. Peace out.